Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at the Monkey King's Garb set armor for the Monk class. A pretty good, decent A-tier armor. Lost a lot of favor compared to Ina's Mantra or the Parents Justice set armor, but still very, very good in its own right. Monkey King's Garb, here it is. 2-piece bonus. Your damage take is reduced by 50% while Sweeping Wind is active. 4-piece bonus. Every second Sweeping Wind spawns a decoy next to the last enemy that it hit, and taunts nearby enemies, and then explodes for 1000% weapon damage for each stack of Sweeping Wind that you have. 6-piece bonus, Lashing Tail Kick, Tempest Rush, and Wave of Light have their damage increased by 15,000% for each stack of Sweeping Wind you have. So we're mostly going to abuse the 6-piece and the 2-piece bonus on this particular armor set. As you can see here, we are mostly using a full set of the Monkey King's Garb. However, we are using the belt and pants of Captain Crimson to help augment its power. 2-piece bonus, 6,000 life per second, reduces cooldown of all skills by 20%, reduces all resource costs by 20%. 3-piece bonus, damage dealt is increased by your percentage of cooldown reduction. Damage take is reduced by your percentage of resource cost reduction. Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, Convention Elements are your rings. Wamcom Lu and Vengeful Wind are your weapons. Increase the maximum stack count of Sweeping Wind by 10, and increase the damage by 733%. Hitting with Tempest Rush and activating Cyclone Strike, both skills deal 575%. It's a Sar's Momentum. Again, this is just powering up more damage from your Tempest Rush. We have to use a necklace here from the Sudoku set. Okay, so here it is. Primary skills. Tempest Rush Flurry. Epiphany Desert Shroud. Sweeping Wind, Inner Storm, Blinding Flash of Faith in the Light, Mantra of Salvation, Agility. We don't use that too much in this build. For the passive, Beacon of Yitar, Harmony, Seize the Initiative, and last but not least, Relentless Assault. In the Kanai's Cube, Balance, Mantle of Channeling, and a Ring of Royal Grandeur. This is what my Paragon looks like currently. If you are playing seasonal character, you don't have access to that much. For the Flower, Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, everything else is pretty much an afterthought from there. Alright, for the purpose of the showcase, we are going to do a Greater of 60. We will do a Greater of 70, and then I will do a Greater of 75. That way I can show you Tournament 13 through 16 difficulty, and kind of show you how this armor works. It is going to vary greatly from those of you who are used to the Pattern of Justice set armor, which is also a Tempest Rush Sweeping Wind build, where focus is more so on the Sweeping Wind aspect, as opposed to Tempest Rush, which this particular build kind of crutches a little bit more heavily on. Also, it's harder to maintain your spirit in this particular one. Right. Okay, so as it stands right now, what we do once we get into the Greater Rift is we want to cast as many Sweeping Winds as possible. Then from there, we're going to activate our Tempest Rush. From there, we want to activate our Epiphany to bring back some of our spirit really quickly. If we see that we're running very low on spirit, what we are going to want to do is activate our Crippling Wave. That way we can attack a couple of enemies to get back our spirit pretty quickly. So that's basically the damage rotations that you're going to look for. Keep in mind that from time to time, you are going to have to keep activating your Sweeping Winds. Keep in mind here is a case in point where we have to build back some of the energy that we've lost. We'll go back into Epiphany. Epiphany is also good, besides the fact that it helps you build back your resources quickly, is the fact that it reduces the amount of damage that you're taking. Despite this being a pretty big set that supposedly, allegedly crutches on having a bit of tankiness to it, in my experience, it is still quite a bit of a glass cannon. So you have to be very, very careful with how you attack things. You have to be careful with getting a little bit too aggro with this particular build. Keep in mind, every time you activate a Sweeping Wind, you are burning for your spirit as well. So it's really a matter of keeping an eye on your spirit gauge while micromanaging your damage rotations, while maintaining your stat. There's a lot of things going on with this armor behind the scenes. Now, in terms of optimization, what would you want to do with this armor? Well, for starters, since we are using a Captain Crimson set, it is in your benefit to get cooldown reduction 8.0% wherever possible. Then, wherever you can get resource cost reduction 8.0% or higher, you should definitely do so as well. More cooldown reduction means you can do more damage. The more resource reduction you have, the less damage you will take, which will help tremendously with this type of build. Subsequently from there, your helm should have crit hit chance 6.0%. Your glove should have crit hit chance 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%, and then from there you want to at least an attack speed at 8.0%. Obviously, all pieces of your gear, you want to get the highest roll of dexterity, which is what increases the amount of attack stat that you have for the monk class. So get dexterity max rolls wherever possible. Subsequently from there, since this is a Tempest Rush build, the 2 stats you want to focus on powering up the most would be Tempest Rush to 15%, but more so in particular you want also sweep. Well, Tempest Rush 15% is probably the major priority, but then from there you also want to power up your Sweeping Wind just so it can do a significant damage, plus you have to factor in the decoy bonus from the 4-piece set bonus as well. So you want to make sure that you power up Tempest Rush and Sweeping Wind. 15% wherever possible. From there, what would further optimization for this armor be? Well, for starters, you want every piece of your gear at least Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary. Ancient Legendary is the gold border. Primal Ancient Legendary are the red borders. Then you want to put whatever of those pieces of gear into a Kanai's Cube with a legendary gem that's at least level 80 in value. Most recommendations will be 110 to 130. Depends on basically where you're struggling in your Greater Rift journey and everything of the sort. But you put it in, you augment your armor that way. Keep in mind that Primal Ancient Legendaries will not drop for your character. If you're a non-seasonal character, they will only drop after you clear a Greater Rift 70 solo. And then all of your non-seasonal characters as well will have access to Primal Ancient Legendaries dropping. Now, if you're playing a seasonal character, your character has to, for that season, clear a Greater Rift 70 solo for Primal Ancient Legendaries to drop in that particular season. When they carry over then to a non-seasonal, it doesn't matter, but for seasonal, that's how you do it. Alright, let's level up some gems. For this particular build, I'm using Bane of Stricken, Bane of the Trap, and a Glock of Swiftness. Alright, you can also use a Taegook in place of that. We're going to level up this Pain Enhancer. It really has no purpose on this particular build, so keep that in mind. Alright, let's teleport. We'll go back to base. We'll identify. Alright, let's see here. Impressive stats, level 60, Greater Rift, 3 minutes and 27 second clear time. So very, very, very effective here. Alright, let's go into a Greater Rift 70. Same strategy as before. We'll set up our Sweeping Wind. Then we'll go Tempest Rush. Then eventually, as we see, we're running lower on our Spirit. We will want to Epiphany. So on top of that, Epiphany serves the other purpose that every once in a while you need to build back up your Spirit, so definitely consider that as well. Every once in a while, as you're going higher up in the Greater Rifts, I would recommend that you use your Blinding Flash against the Elite packs, because they are a little bit more tanky. You also save your Blinding Flashes for when you're attacking the Rift Guardian, so keep that in mind. But you definitely, as you go higher up, are going to use that a lot more. Again, it's a matter of keeping your Sweeping Wind stacks activated, making sure your Epiphany is active as much as possible, making sure that you keep an eye on your Spirit. Because the problem with this build is, if you're very low on Spirit, you run into a situation where then you could basically get one-shotted. Keep in mind that's why Crippling Wave is in here too, because when you're in Epiphany and Crippling Wave, you will teleport to the closest target, which will allow you to build back up some of your resources a little bit quicker. Now, in terms of leaderboard placement, where would this particular armor go for this particular season? Well, it will do significantly well. It's an A-tier armor at best. It underperforms when you compare it to the Ina's Mantra set armor and the Patterns of Justice set armor for the Monk class. In terms of Echoing Nightmare, this will do significantly well up until about probably wave 100. Then from there, it's going to be really hard to do the balancing act of micromanaging between maintaining your Spirit, making sure your Epiphany is always active, making sure your Sweeping Winds are active where they need to be. All these things are going to kind of play a part, and then as you're going higher up, the waves are going to start overwhelming you, and overwhelming you. The other problem is this armor is very glass cannon-like. I might not look like it from the way that I'm playing this particular build, but it cannot handle hits very well. So when you factor in an Echoing Nightmares, constantly enemies are exploding, causing tons of AoE effects, and they're overrunning you. There is a very high potential that you will die very low into the level thing. So I would recommend Ina's Mantra over pretty much everything when it comes to Echoing Nightmare at that point. Between Ina's Mantra and Zunimasa's Poison Dart, those are pretty much the two S-tier armors for an Echoing Nightmare for this particular season. So you have to factor that into everything of the sort. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to Diablo III, I am actually now streaming on Twitch as well. I've recently started taking a more active role in Twitch. From time to time, I will stream Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 there. For Diablo 3, I tend to just kind of prep some of my YouTube stuff by just grinding over there. So I let my viewers and faithful Diablo fans basically watch as I grind there and I interact with them. So if you want to follow us on Twitch and help us make our road to affiliate. We're over at Twitch TV/Dreadscape Gaming. Subsequently from there, I have also done a couple of YouTube streams testing some out in YouTube as well, because I know some Diablo 3 players would enjoy watching me on YouTube. The last time we did a YouTube stream, the volume in the game was a little loud, and I do apologize for that, because I'm still kind of getting used to working with old OBS, which is not the Streamlabs one, for YouTube, because I don't want to pay money for the Streamlabs version of it. Alright, so here it is. Blinding Flash. We'll go Tempest Rush with a couple Sweeping Wind Stack. You should be able, in theory, to one-shot the Rift Guardian there. Let's check here. Alright, let's level up a gem, and then from there we probably are going to probably mosey on out of here. Let's see, level up, Pain Enhancer. Alright, more Pain Enhancer. I'm going to be using this for augmentation. I'm not using it in this particular build, in case people are wondering in that retrospect. Alright, let's go check here. What speed was that? Alright, Greater Rift 70, 3 minutes and 22 second clear time. I am going to show you how this performs in a Greater Rift 80. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. First thing here, Sweeping Wind. You want to go into Epiphany as fast as possible, so make sure you're not getting overrun with enemies. Here, you're going to have to go Epiphany, lightly tapping into Tempest Rush, only Sweeping Winding whenever possible. So you have to keep that in mind, because if you go too much into Sweeping Wind, you will get overrun with enemies. This is the same principle as to why I say this armor doesn't perform particularly well in Echoing Nightmares, because you have to kind of mitigate how you're doing things. Also, keep in mind when you're Epiphanying here, as you're going through your resources, you will have to occasionally use your Crippling Wave to get back your spirit. Usually about 2 to 3 hits in Epiphany with Crippling Wave will get you back to 100% spirit. So you definitely want to save that for the lower level enemies that you will run into in terms of a greater. Now, a question that people have been asking me on the channel quite frequently is, when am I going to do more Diablo 2 build guide? The answer to that question is, I do plan to do more Diablo 2 guides for endgame build. The reason I haven't done them yet is because I haven't gotten most of my classes to endgame yet. A lot of them have just gotten to Hell difficulty, or are still towards the end of Nightmare difficulty, because as most of you know, I play a lot of games on this channel. I just don't play Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 all the time. I play stuff like Dead by Daylight, I play stuff like Fortnite, I play some Nintendo games. So every once in a while, it takes a while, particularly in Diablo 2, to get the gear that you need. So I don't want to put out gear or guides to builds that are not properly geared up, because then I'm giving you not very good or usable information to make your journey in Diablo 2 as smooth or as fast or as efficient as it could potentially be. So that's kind of the reasons why I don't do things of that particular nature. Alright, let's Sweeping Wind here. Let's Sweeping Wind here. Let's get this pylon. Sweeping Wind here. Sweeping Wind here. Sweeping Wind here again. Alright, Sweeping Wind. I will take out those targets. Sweeping Wind as well. Pretty good. So, another question is, am I going to be doing Diablo 2 ladder? I actually have started playing Diablo 2 ladder. I actually am not too impressed with it. Just because having the new rune words is nice and all, but I don't see the need to have to remake a character if I'm not getting things that are exclusive, like, let's say, a pet, or a pendant, or wings, like you get every season in Diablo 3. So if it's just kind of for bragging rights as the fast clear time, and you're not getting truly a lot of exclusive things that you could use that are going to be really useful for the type of things that I do in Diablo 2, it really kind of feels like it defeats the purpose. I am hoping that my stance on the ladder changes in the not too distant future, but I don't know. At the current moment, I'm just not very confident in what I'm seeing as to whether it should be worth grinding. As you see here, I was running low on resources, so what I did there was I went Epiphany into Crippling Wave and attacked a lot of low-level enemies, which allowed me to build back up my spirit significantly fast. So that's kind of what you want to do to make sure that you don't run out of spirit. If you run out of spirit with this particular build and you're getting overrun by enemies, you're going to die, and then you run into this situation where you're having a hard time getting back your spirit, you're getting hit left and right, you're taking more death after more death, so you have to try to avoid that with the Monkey King's Garb set armor. This is also one of the reasons, because it burns through so many resources a little too quickly, why builds like Tempest Rush and Ina Mantra have gained more favor with Monk players and just people who want to play the Monk class, because you don't want to have to micromanage so many different tasks, considering there's so many other things that are going on the screen concurrently. Let's keep going this way. Let's clear through those things very fast. Okay, from here, again, what you're going to want to do is go Sweeping Wind. You could go Blinding Flash, but we do want to save it for when we get to the eventual Rift Guardian that is coming up here. So we'll go for the gate. Go for the gate here. We're going to activate another Sweeping Wind. Then we're going to cut down here. From there, what we are going to want to do is go Sweeping Wind, Blinding Flash. Here's the Rift Guardian. Alright, so what we're going to do is Blinding Flash, Sweeping Wind, Tempest Rush. Hopefully when the decoys will hit, which it does, and you will take out the Rift Guardian with, for most intents and purposes, general ease. Okay, all this gear, we're going to drop it here. We're going to pick these up real quick. We're going to level up our gem. Again, the gems that I use for this particular armor build are Bane of the Stricken, Bane of the Trap, Go Out with Swiftness. If you don't want to use Go Out with Swiftness, which you definitely need for Captain Crimson because you want to increase the amount of attack stat for your cooldown reduction, subsequently, one of the other things that you can do is you can use a Taegook in place of it. I do not recommend that. I mean, if you want to run Taegook, you run Taegook and Go Out with Swiftness, and then you use a Bane of the Trap. But, you know, people to each their own. Let's drop this gear so I can identify this gem, and then from there, I will send everybody on their merry old way. The next build that I will be covering in Diablo 3 for this week is the Raiment of the Jade Harvester set armor. So definitely make sure you look out for that one. I'm going to level up the Pain Enhancer again. We don't use this in this particular build. What we are doing, though, is leveling this up for augmentation purposes in the not-too-distant future. If you want to, also augmentation-wise, you can go into Echoing Nightmares, which will drop the special gems from there that will make it a little bit easier. That's a good thing about this seasonal journey, everything. So, alright, so let's see the clear time here. This is Greater Rift 80, 4 minutes and 4 second clear time. Full optimization, you can get this down to 2 minutes. Add 30 seconds to every 10 levels you go in a Greater Rift, and that's pretty much what you're going to be able to do with this particular armor. Keep in mind this armor probably is going to cap out at Greater Rift 130 solo. In a group of 4 with experienced people using S-tier's armors, it is possible to get to a Greater Rift 150, but it is going to cause you to struggle significantly from time to time. Let's get rid of this last bit of gear. Alright, looking through this gear. Let's see the pants. Alright, so unfortunately we got pretty much useless gear, which is to be expected from all these guide runs that I do. But that's how you speed farm anyway as well. Okay, guys, let's go here. We'll salvage this. Getting rid of everything here so we can get some resources. None of this is good, unfortunately. Some people do like Oculus Ring for our builds. I personally am not a fan of it, but to each their own. Let's salvage the rest here. That was potentially a drift. That's a Wave of Light thing. I will save that. That's another Wave of Light thing. I will save that. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's Diablo 3 video. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so as it helps the channel grow. And I will see you for the next Diablo 3 video. Till next time, guys.